What is going on, you guys? Theo here with the big review, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and it is Saturday, thank God, so that means that we can finally kick back, relax, and unwind after what has been the most hellacious week of updates that I've had as a channel since starting. But before we get into this week's topic, we're going to talk about this real quick because I feel like it might have gone unnoticed by a lot of people. For those of you who do not typically do this, these tickets that you get in your summon section that you can do an ad for each day, these now have Fest fighters in them. This was something that had been updated kind of without little fanfare and very little talk, so I wanted to make sure that I threw that in there because that is huge and also plays into the topic of this week's video. So make sure you do that ad every day, guys, because now you can get Fest characters. So about 10 days after doing this 10 times, you can get a free multi. But let's talk about this week's topic. So thanks you guys first and foremost for bearing with me this week. It has been a crazy week, as I stated. It just has been one update after the next between news, streams, data mines. It has been absolutely bonkers, and I haven't even gotten to get into the actual King of Fighters proper news this week, even though yesterday there was enormous news that was announced as it pertains to KOF 15. I haven't even had time to get into all that. So this video is going to be talking about a topic that has been kind of on the minds and on the tongues and on the keyboards of everyone this week, and that is going to be memories, and in particular the issue with memories right now in the game. And it has been an ongoing issue in some capacity. However, it has compounded itself with the recent lament of special or limited edition banners, with the Boss Syndrome characters, and with the SS banner. So the other day when I did my Rant video, I feel like some people might have gotten the impression that because I was defending the dev team for the topics that were covered in that particular video, that I, for some reason, they feel like this dev team does no wrong, which I stated in that video was not the case, and I will state again is not the case. This dev team has a lot of stuff they need to work on, and in a big way, especially if they want the longevity of this game to improve. However, those topics that I touched on in that video that I felt they needed defense on, I stand by those. But there are several things they need to work on, and in particular, in my opinion, one of the major issues plaguing this game that they need to work on is being able to attain memories in more ways than what we currently have. So when it comes to memories, basically, when you look at the unified banner, and we'll start there because it has been here the longest. When you look at the unified banner and you look at things like your exchange shops, right? Because we do get the Hall of Elements switch over once a month. Those are your two biggest ways to get memories for the general pool. And those are fine, those are good. Whenever they added the Hall of Elements, that was obviously a big help. However, without a way to kind of control what you're able to get, and being that it only switches over every 30 days, that is kind of just another way of getting memories in an RNG way. It is very, very tough to predict whether you're going to be able to depend on that or not, and you really can't. So then you get into your unified banner, right? And they're doing things, you know, there's little incremental increases to, you know, the chances for us to attain memories, right? They're now adding those the fighters to those tickets, and there's been things in the past where they've given us more random Fest tickets and things of that nature. However, that isn't enough. And the reason it isn't enough is not because of people who are in my position, who are veterans. It is not because of players who are in an intermediate role. It is for the beginners, and that is the group of people that I feel like needs help the most. Right now, if you are getting into this game, you basically look at the content in this game, and there's a fair bit of it, and some even argue that there's too much content. I don't agree with that, but some people say so. And you look at it, and a fair bit of it is what we call end game content. Content that you're not going to feasibly be able to get through without having characters at Awakening level 4 or level 5, so on and so forth. And the problem is a new player. You look at that content, right? And you go, man, I want to do that. Well, here's the cold facts. People are not patient, and people do not like to kind of I don't want to say earn things, because that isn't the right way to put it. People don't like things to take forever, right? And, you know, for legitimate reasons in some cases, people don't want to have to grind that much, right? And that might fall on deaf ears for those of us who have had to do it that way for so long and have gone through the grind and are at the points we are at. But I do feel like there has to be a happy medium, right? If you're a new player getting into this game now, there's so many characters. The Fest pool is so deep. It's not like it was when I started the game and we had 2 Fest characters in the entire game. So now that there's so many characters, there needs to be ways for people to be able to get Fest memories easier, to build up their characters quicker from the unified pool. I firmly believe that. Now, I'm not saying to just full on give people all these different selectors, but I do feel like random Fest tickets and things of that nature at this point should be commonplace. I feel like that needs to start happening. You know, whether or not we start to get like one once a day ad or something, it doesn't matter to me. And this isn't going to be about me coming out with a hypothesis on all these different ways they can give us more of these memories. But it does need to happen. It's something that has been eating at the game's new player base for a long time, because it's daunting and it is kind of intimidating and off-putting for people who kind of get into this game and they see their favorite fighter. They get their favorite fighter, for instance, which is a feat in and of itself at times with the way the RNG can work. And then they have that character, but then they soon realize they need to pull 3, 4, 5 copies of it for that character to be viable in all these different modes. And so it's very difficult in PvE for new players. If you want a PvP, that already comes with its own batch of issues. So you don't want those issues to then extend themselves over to PvE, albeit for different reasons. You need there to be kind of a happy place for new players so that they can get into the game easier, have access to memories easier, and do these things much faster. Now, that all being said, the other issue, the bigger issue at hand, is obviously going to be limited run banners, meaning limited edition memories. So with the lament of BS and SS, I think it's a good thing, but it also can be a bad thing. So being that we are finally getting stronger versions of our favorite KOF characters, being that they are listening to us and letting us give input on who should get Fest variants, is a huge boon to the game. It's a great thing. No one should complain about that. But the reason people complain is because they feel the FOMO and they feel extremely under the gun. Because all of a sudden, you have a limited edition banner with characters that we've already established everyone likes, everyone wants. But then you do it in such a manner to where people are forced to spend all their rubies on RNG and hopefully be able to pull characters that they like. And that fear for people, I understand. For instance, I'm afraid to even pull on the SS banner, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to pull on it. The reason I don't want to pull on it, though, is not because I don't think they're worth it. It's because I'm afraid that because they structured this one the way that they did, that the next time they do an SS banner, King is going to be on it. And for those of you who are not aware, King is my favorite character in King of Fighters in fighting game history. And if that happens, that's the one thing I've been waiting for since I started this game. And so I'm afraid that if I go in on this banner in a month or two, I won't have enough rubies to go for her. And I'm not going to allow that to happen. But I have to put myself, that position I'm in this regard, I have to put myself in other people's shoes with that. People whose favorite character is Mai, or Athena, or Rugal, or Orochi. It's one of those things where they need access to these memories after the fact. If you invested in these limited edition characters, you need the assurance that there are going to be ways down the road that you can build these characters up. Now, of course, with the dev note, they realized that, and it was an emergency dev note. That's the latest they've ever put out a dev note in Korea. That was it took the Korean community aback, and very, very quick that they turned that around. And so I think that they realized that we're right on this. Now, how they implement this is going to be a very tricky situation because they need to implement this in such a way that it doesn't piss people off. Now, if they do this in such a way that they make these things accessible, heck, I'm going to be honest with you guys, even if they put these memories, these generic memories for these characters in boxes that you buy, that'll make a lot of people happy. People who are dolphins or whales, that is going to make those people very, very happy. For free-to-play players, they need to make it easier to attain than just making it, oh, well, they're now in the Hall of Elements rotation. Well, that doesn't help at all. Or, oh, well, you can get it, but it's on a 0.2% drop rate from some random dungeon that you can only do X amount of times a week. That isn't going to fly. They need to make sure that what they do with this, they are careful. And if they're listening to this video, you guys need to be careful with how you implement this. You need to do it in such a way, if you're going to make this the new kind of trend, the new kind of norm, that you make these things accessible and people don't feel like you're jerking them around. It's very important that this happens. People love these characters. They voted for these characters for a reason. And therefore, people have been waiting a long time for these characters. So you guys need to do right by the community and need to make sure that these memories are not something that is completely gated behind some sort of RNG to where people are not going to have access to them. Now, I do have some hope. Being that the asset that we have in the game files right now is a generic, it makes me think that it might be a little bit easier to attain than some other memories, considering the fact that it's not just going to be the specific memory for the SS or the BS character, or whatever the case may be. We don't really know how they're going to handle BS. We know SS at this point. We have at least some idea of what we're looking at. But they need to make sure that that happens. And overall, there needs to be more ways to attain best memories. We've outgrown this idea that best characters are something that is extremely rare or something that is only for whales or whatever the case, like it used to be. For those of you who weren't around back before the unified banner, it was a mess. But now that we're at this point, and now that we know that the unified banner is going to have characters that are arguably a step down from some of these characters on these limited edition banners, it needs to happen. The game has shifted, and now is time to adapt as far as the development team goes and do it in such a way that it is user-friendly and it makes your community happy. We already had some good news with no level 10 awakening. Let's continue that. So that is my opinion on this, guys. I really hope that they do this right. I really hope they do right by the fan base. If you guys have ideas on what they can do, let me know in the comment section. I know this is something a lot of people are passionate about. I am too, and I completely agree with it. Now, before I go, I want to make sure that I let everybody know and remind you guys that the King of Fighters All-Star YouTuber SS Fighter Summon Tournament is later today. It will be on OROCHINAGI'S YouTube channel. Link will be in the description. It is at 3:30 p.m. CST, so you will have to adjust accordingly depending on what time zone you are in. But we are all going to be getting together, myself, Gunny, 2300H Gaming, Snow, and many more. We are all going to be pulling on the SS banner in a tournament-style format with brackets and everything, guys. It's all official-like. So it's going to be a ton of fun. It's the first time we've ever done this. So if you guys are excited for that, let me know in the comment section. But make sure that you're there. At least stop in and say hi to all of us, because we'll probably need the support after we all get shafted so hard. But anyway, guys, I'm very excited for that. I hope to see you all there. Thank you all so much for watching. You all have a great day. Peace.
Continue.